Okay, we're at 5.4. We're going to write more linear equations, and this time in standard form. So we've covered slope-intercept form. Last section we did point-slope form, and now is standard form. They're all different ways to write equations of lines. So like I said, you'll be allowed to use formulas. You can have them written down. You just have to know which one's which. Okay, so standard form is in the form ax plus by equals c. So that's standard form. You can see it right here, okay? Where a and b and c are real numbers, okay? As you get more advanced, they have what they call imaginary numbers, so that's why they say real numbers. And a and b are not both 0. So one can be 0, but not the, no, in fact, they can't both be 0 for standard form. So you can have 1, you can have a negative number, but you can't have 0, okay? All linear equations can be written in standard form. Okay, so we're going to take one. It says, write an equivalent equation in standard form. So they've given you 2x minus 6y equals 4. Okay, so I'm just going to write that. 2x minus 6y equals 4. Okay, let me go ahead and move that over so we can see it. So there is standard form. That would be your a. A is always the number before the x, and b is the number before the y, and then c is by itself. And this can be plus or minus, it does not matter here. Okay, so they just want equivalent. So equivalent means it's the same line, but you just change it. So there's hundreds of ways you could change this. So I'm just going to pick 2 to show you. So I can decide that I'm going to multiply everything by 4. Okay? So if I multiply this whole line by 4, so I'm going to put that down so you can see what we're multiplying it by 4. It now becomes 8x minus 4 times 6 is 24y equals 4 times 4 is 16. So this is the same line as that, but now we just multiplied it by 4. So they want 2. Like I said, you can multiply, you can make it smaller. Because it's 2, 6, and 4, I can divide everything by 2, which is multiplying by a half. That means the same thing. So let's now divide everything by 2, or multiply by 1/2. That means that becomes x. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And 4 divided by 2 is 2. So here are 2 equivalent lines. Okay, you can always make it bigger. Sometimes you can make it smaller, sometimes not. It depends how it starts off. So those are 2 equivalent equations to the first one. There are tons. Let me just one more. Say I decide to multiply everything by 10. That's an easy one. 20x minus 60y equals 40. So do you see on this, you just have to put what you've done to it, whether what you've multiplied it by or divided it by, and there no 2 people are going to have the same choices because there's so many choices. All right, so that's pretty straightforward. Okay, so now I'm going to put a graph up here. And we're going to write an equation in standard form from this graph. Okay, so we know for a line here, we need the slope and we need an ordered pair. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and use point slope form. That's why they do it, because that's normally easiest way to put it in is point slope form, because slope intercept form you have to know the y-intercept and we don't know it here. So point slope form's the easiest. Okay, so there's 2 ways to get the slope. Since I have a graph, I can count or I can use ordered pairs. Just to switch it up, instead of counting, I can tell it's going to be negative. I'm going to go ahead and use the ordered pairs. So I've got 1, 1, and 2 comma negative 2. So change in y, so y2 minus y1 over the change in x. So mark your points, x and y, then second x, second y. So negative 2 minus 1 over 2 minus 1. So negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3, and 2 minus 1 is 1. So we know the slope is negative 3. Okay, so that's if I use the equation or the formula to find the slope. If I count it, I go down 1, 2, 3, and over 1. I get the same thing, it's quicker. But I just wanted to show you both ways so that you can see. So now I'm going to pick an ordered pair to put into point slope form. And then from there we can put it into standard form. So remember, it doesn't matter which one we use. I use 1 and 1 because they're both the same and they're not negatives. Anytime that you can deal with positive numbers, it makes it a little easier. So y minus 1 equals negative 3 x minus 1. Okay, so I've put it in point slope form, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to change point slope form into standard form, which is what we want to do. So y minus 1 equals negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 1 is plus 3. Okay, so remember, standard form, you've got to have x and y on one side and the number on the other. So I'm going to add 3x to this side. So now I've got 3x plus y minus 1 equals 3. I just put this in order. I put the 3x before the plus y minus 1. The last thing I have to do is add 1 to this side. Then it's going to be standard form. So add 1 right here, sorry, plus 1. So 3x plus y equals 3 plus 1 is 4, and that's standard form. So we put it in point slope form, and then we went ahead and we just put x and y on one side and the variable c, they call it c, on the other side. So it has to look like this. All right. Okay, so that's just a matter of you practicing. The more you practice, the better off you're going to get. Okay, I'm going to throw this up and we're just going to look at this because it's easy to look and read this. Okay, this is the blue line here, and because you can't see so much on here, and this is the red line. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so we can see. So I'm just going to use this graph since it's nicely done. So remember, horizontal and vertical lines, we've checked on that. Recall that equations of horizontal lines have the form y equals a, and equations of vertical line is x equals b. So y equals a is something like y equals 2, and x equals b, x equals negative 5. Okay? You cannot write an equation for a vertical line in slope-intercept form or point slope form, because a vertical line has no slope. So because it has no slope, you can't use any of those equations. However, you can write an equation for a vertical line in standard form. So if I'm looking at the blue line, this, okay, you can see that the y coordinate, when you go across here, of the blue line is at negative 4. Sorry, I did the wrong line. Forgive me on that. Here, it's supposed to be this one. So I'm going to make it real dark, so ignore the other. I was looking real quick, and that is 0, 0. This is the line. Here's the blue line, that's the red line, okay? So we can see from here, this is 0, 0. I go to 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's all across negative 4. And you can see here is negative 4. So the only equation you're going to write for this is y equals negative 4. That's all you can write. It's really simple, okay? If I did one here, I'm just going to do another one. Say you saw a line here like this, okay? And they said write an equation for this line. Well, you go down from here, it's down 2. So here I would say y equals negative 2. All right, now the red line is the vertical line. And remember, here's your origin. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So this one's going through 4. So the only thing I can write for this, the x value is 4, is x equals 4. Okay, again, I could do a red one and do it right here and say, what's the equation of this one? So if I'm looking here, you hopefully would see that all you'd put is x equals 1. The only thing you have to be careful is that you don't confuse the y's and the x's. It's not difficult, but you have to know how to do that. Okay? So be real careful on that. So we're going to look real quick here. Let me move this up here. I'm going to look at it, and then we're going to figure out what they want us to do. Okay, so here we go. Okay, right here. Don't want to show the work because we're going to do that together. Okay, find the missing coefficient in the equation of the line shown. Write the completed equation. Okay, so I've got a point, -1, 0. And here's the equation, a, so I don't know what the number before x is, plus 3y equals 2. So we want to know what a is. Now they already know the number for b. So what do you think I can do to find what a is? Do I know an x and y? Hopefully you're looking at this and you can see, yes, I see that x is -1 and I see that y is 0. So can I plug the x of -1 in here and plug 0 in for y and then find out what a is? So let's go ahead and write this on here. Okay, just going to go ahead and write over this. So ax plus by, okay, equals c. So here we don't know what a is. We know that the y is 3y equals 2. And we know that one point up here is -1, 0. Okay, so I'm just writing this on a piece of paper right here. Okay, so we want to find a. So remember, in algebra, if they ask you for something, there's enough information that you can solve it. So you just always have to look as, what have they given me, and how can I use what they've given me to answer the question? Well, you know that you have an ordered pair, so you should be thinking, okay, let's plug it in. So a times -1 plus 3 times 0 equals 2. Anything times 0 is gone, that's just 0. So a times -1 is -a equals 2. But remember, we're not looking for a negative a, we're looking for a positive a. So divide the -1. So now a is -2. So have I gone ahead and found what I'm looking for? Well, yeah, so now I can go back and write the whole equation. So it is -2x plus 3y equals 2. And there you go. You just plugged in what you had, what they told you, and then you found a, and then write it back. Always don't just leave it here, write it back in the complete equation, and that's standard form for you. You now have your a, you have your b, and you have your c. So that's it. That's all you have to do. Okay, last one we're going to do is a word problem. This is a lot of work, so I'm going to throw the paper up here, and we're going to kind of work this together step by step. Okay? So, let me see. Let's autofocus a little bit more in. Okay. There. Should get a little bit more clear. Okay, we can see it clearer now. Okay. Solve a multi-step problem. So your class is taking a trip to the public library. You can travel in a small and a large van. A small van holds 8 people and a large van holds 12 people. Your class could fill 15 small vans and 2 large vans. So those are the 2 variables. Remember, in every word problem, instead of being x and y, It's a large van and a small van. Okay, so the variables that they're going to use, you can see, is going to be S for small and L for large. So it's got three parts to it. So let's see what we do. A, write an equation in standard form that models the possible combinations of small vans and large vans that your class could fill. B, graph the equation from part A. So you get the equation, then B is going to graph it, and then C, we're going to list several possible combinations. But let's get the A part done, okay? So let's look at that. All right, so I'm keeping that up. You look at this, you understand, you can follow along in your PDF file as I'm doing this, so you can see it even though I'm taking it off the screen. So we know, I'm going to transfer this in and more. Capacity of the small van is 8 times the small van plus the capacity of the large van times the large van equals the total people on the trip. So let's go ahead and write this out. 8S plus 12L for the large van equals P. Okay, so I almost have an equation, but I don't have one until I find what P is. Okay, I've got to find, can't have three variables, not right now at this level. Okay, so I have to find people. So let's look back before I go any further and see if we can find the missing information. So your class is taking a trip to the public library. That's why you read it and sometimes reread it. You can travel in small and large van. A small van holds 8 people and a large van holds 12 people. Your class could fill 15 small vans and 2 large vans. So there's your key. Can fill 15 small and 2 large. So don't you think I can put the 15 where the S is and the 2 where the L is? And that's exactly what I'm going to do, and then we're going to know how many people there are. There are 15 in the small plus 2 in the large, and if I solve that, I'm going to get the amount of people. Okay? So when I go ahead and I plug this in, I'm going to get 144. Okay, and that is my, sorry, put it down here. So people is 144. So that's the A part. So let me go ahead and write an equation, then erase it. So my equation now is 8S plus 12L equals 144. All right, so I had to use that equation to get it completely, and now I'm going to write it up here where we can see it better. We have more room to continue. So do you understand? I plugged in the numbers they gave me and I was able to get the amount of people. Now I have a proper equation. So 8 times the small plus 12 times the large equals a total of people of 144. So that's, you've got an A. All right, so I'm going to use the A part here to go ahead and graph the equation, but I'm going to use what we have here and we're going to look at it because it's nice and easy to look at the one that they've done. Okay, so when we go ahead and we plug in, all right, so we've got the 8S plus 12L equals 144. That was the equation we came up with. So if we plug in a 0 for S, because we need to know how high the X and Y intercepts, or the S and L intercepts, okay? So when we plug a 0 in and we divide 12 into 144, we get the large, we get 12, okay? So here it is. It goes up to 12, so they did it by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Then set the other intercept equal to 0, just like you would set X and Y. Now you're setting S to 0, and then you're setting L to 0. So now I'm setting 12 times 0. So when I do that, I divide 8 into 144, and the small is 18. So there you go. So I know it doesn't go past here and it doesn't go past here. So again, we did it in twos. They put a 2 to show that they're all in twos. And when you do that, you're going to go through ordered pairs here and here, where you go right on where they intersect the pairs. So you know that now you have this ordered pair, you have this one, but then you went through here and here. So now you can use that information to answer C. Okay, so the graph passes through 0, 12. It passes through 6, 8. When you go through and you count that, then this is going to be 12 and 4, and then you've got 18 and 0. So now what does that mean? You've got to make it fit. It's a word problem. It's no good just saying the numbers. What does that actually mean? So we know that up here, because you always want to label stuff, you know that this is the large and this is a small. So they get more people in the small than they do in the large. So the different combinations is you can have nobody in the small and 12 large, or you can have 6 in the small and 8 large, or you can have 12 in the small and 4 large, or you can have 18 in the small and no large. So that's the way that you could use the vans. You could either use all large or small, or a combination of the two. Now the reason you have to use whole numbers is because it's people. You can't cut people in half. So you can't have 12 and a half people. So it has to be whatever it's exactly on the intersection here. So that's the only thing that's going to work. So remember that when you're dealing with people and things like that, and whole numbers and pieces of paper, you know, and giving out candies and stuff, anything like that, it's going to be whole numbers, okay? You're not going to have 13.3 people. So that's why they have to be whole numbers, and that's why those 4 combinations work. All right? Okay, we'll go on to the next section. Thank you.